I'm originally from Chicago and lived for 7 years out in the Northwest and have been doing large-scale projects out in Washington, Oregon, and now we'll be working on a couple here in the Midwest. My favorite part of the process is the collaborative aspect of it. It does involve working with an architect, a landscape architect, an engineer, transportation people, public works people. This is the project we're working on right now for the University of Wisconsin-Eau Claire. There's a new residence hall going in called Chancellor's Hall, and there's a landscaped area out in front of it. So we decided that that would be our point of departure for sculpture, would be to create a series of clustered geometric forms. They're stepped in the shape of front stoops, loosely. Our approach with the public art is to respond to the site and to the community. We don't really have a signature style by which we have a preconceived idea of what that site needs, and we're simply doing larger versions of our studio work. We always approach the public art projects as a response to the site, to the architecture, to the community, and that's where we get the idea for the project. And that's really how we enjoy working, is not to bring some set idea to the project, but instead to respond to what we have available to work with on the site. Public art is for everyone, and whether they like it or don't like it, there's usually a lot of dialogue involved, and it becomes part of the sense of place, part of the community. A lot of my individual work is figurative in a very loose sense. A number of years ago I shared a studio with a whole group of artists, and one of the artists in the studio was creating a set of security bars for his girlfriend who was moving into a first-floor apartment. And she was very nervous about living on the first floor, but she didn't like the kind of security bars that you buy at the hardware store, so he was making her some decorative security bars. That kind of decorative ironwork, the tradition of decorative ironwork, has a lot to do with concealing the true function of the structures of security and privacy. And by making them beautiful and ornamental, it was a way of not thinking about the kind of ugly function that they had, which is to keep things out. And the idea of an armature also, that kind of skeletal form, has to do with strength, and it's like an armor in a way. So I started working with forms like that that had to do with keeping things out and also thinking about what things they kind of kept in too. I'm working on a series of paper models that will be executed in steel eventually, although I've become really interested in the surface of the paper models. I'm using recycled cardboard from packaging for those, and the quilt-like surface patterns that are emerging are really interesting me a lot now. Both in my studio work and in the public work, I really enjoy working with industrial materials. I work with a lot of welded steel. I enjoy its properties of strength and malleability. We associate it with really rigid forms, impermeable forms, but it's really very responsive sculpturally to work with. And other industrial materials that are associated with both architecture and sculpture. That's the vocabulary I really enjoy working with.